Holstein America is proudly sponsored by Merck Animal Health. Dairy Care 365 provides training for dairy caretakers who want to keep their livestock safe, productive, and healthy. Visit dairycare365.com.
It's rising to the challenge. It's adversity and opportunity. It's pastures and farmland. People working together to feed the world with nutritious milk and dairy products. And none of this would be possible without U.S. registered Holsteins, the world's perfect cow, and the people who raise them.
We wanted to work with the best, so when we decided to go with the registered business, we decided to go with the Holsteins.
For us, Holstein was just the perfect cow because of not only the quantity of milk, but just the ease of taking care of her.
Each generation is more and more removed from the dairy farm, and so it's important for us to constantly be talking about farming and talking about the importance of agriculture.
This is Holstein America. Hi, I'm Michelle Davidson. The breadth of wonderful products provided by the Holstein cow is amazing, but what often gets overlooked is milk, perhaps our most nutritious food. A glass of milk provides much of your daily needs for vitamin D, critical to a strong immune system. Milk is your best source for calcium, strengthening bones and teeth, helping muscle function, and improving quality of life for young and old alike. And milk is a natural source for protein, bolstering body function and preventing diabetes and cancer. In the next hour, we'll meet the people who care for the world's perfect cow to make the world's perfect food possible. Our journey begins in southern Illinois.
Since day one, I can remember as a 5-year-old, Dad telling me, hey, you want to come out and help? And I'm like, yeah, great. Well, come out and feed the calves before you go to school. And I constantly always wanted to be out there milking the cows. It's a passion that you learn, something you develop, and you hold on to it forever.
I usually wake up at about 6:30 or 7 o'clock. Then I go outside and feed my calves. 9:30 to 10, we either grind feed or haul manure. At 1:30, we start milking cows.
We are a family farm, so I think that it's super important that people realize that we're literally all in this together all the time, 24/7, all year. We're always ready to help each other out to make our animals better.
I'm fortunate enough that my kids love it, and I think they love it because they see how much I enjoy it, so it kind of rubs off on them. One of the things I enjoy most is when I see them working together, getting ready for the fairs or getting ready for a show, and they usually do a great job at it.
We've always had registered Holsteins, so I've never really been able to not be able to show any cow I want to.
The registered Holstein business is why I'm in this business, because I have cows that I can show. I have cows that I can merchandise. I'm not milking cows just to milk cows. I milk cows because I want to, down the road, be able to have a high quality herd that will be recognized for its superior genetics and superior production.
We are small, but I think we're pretty mighty around here. I'd like to say that at least. We have a pretty high rolling herd average considering that we don't milk that many animals. My dad has made that a super huge priority for him.
We usually are in the top 10 in the state of Illinois for rolling herd averages. You get 3 or 4 really good cows that milking 30 to 40,000 pounds of milk. It really helps your herd average. So our 56 cows averaging over 30,000 pounds of milk is pretty good for us, and we're pretty excited about it. We work really hard on that high level production.
I like how we have a small registered farm, so we know every cow by name. Our animals are like family to us, so we definitely make sure the milk come out of them is really good.
We're able to give our cows that individual attention that they need. When I'm doing the milking, I'll notice, hey, that cow looks a little off. What's wrong with her? I can see that. I don't have to wait for it to show up on the computer screen. I know the history on them, so that to me gives us an advantage working with the registered business because we know everything about them. If I learned anything growing up on a dairy farm that I want to share with my kids is that every single day counts. Every single day you got to try and get better, and you got to try and do your best, because you never know that one day you show up, your best cow's having a calf, and you were there to be there to help her.
I really love Holsteins and dairy cows, and hopefully one day I'll have kids that'll want to do the same thing that I do.
Where do I want to be in 5 to 10 years? Exactly what I'm doing today.
While we're on the subject of milk, here's some more information about this great product. On top of calcium, protein, and vitamin D, milk is also a source for essential nutrients like potassium, phosphorus, vitamin A, vitamin B12, riboflavin, and niacin. Studies show milk helps athletes refuel better than popular sports drinks because of its mix of energy-boosting protein, electrolytes, and carbohydrates. And milk, cheese, and yogurt can help with weight management by helping a person feel full longer between meals. One of the universities leading the way in helping produce great dairy products is South Dakota State University. Students here have a unique opportunity to learn about dairy production and manufacturing.
The Dairy Science program at SDSU covers the whole spectrum of dairy from farm to product. And there isn't another program like this, I believe, in the country. We've had Holsteins here at the university from virtually the beginnings of our campus dairy program. Throughout the period, it's been registered Holsteins, and it's been an interesting history. Back in 1912, one of our Holsteins, College Belle Wayne, she was the top producer west of the Mississippi. And then we had the opportunity to take her around on a train to show everybody what a top producing Holstein looks like. The dairy industry has been evolving. And so, for example, in this state here in South Dakota, butter was a primary product. And so for butter, you need fat. And then over time, simply because of demand and other needs, the butter industry began to maybe decline a little bit, but the cheese industry began to expand. And for cheese, you need proteins. And so the Holstein breeders responded to that by breeding Holsteins for protein and milk production. And so Holstein really has been very proactive in responding to the needs of the dairy industry.
We have to be able to feed a growing population, and in order to do that, we need to have a lot of background information. At the school dairy farm, all of our cows are registered. So I believe there's so much research and information about the Holsteins that we're able to have a better product of milk from them, whether that gets made into cheese, yogurt, or ice cream.
Here at the plant, we do the start through finish process of manufacturing dairy products. We start with receiving the milk, and then we pasteurize, go through every single step in the manufacturing, and at the very end, our product ends up on the shelves in the stores going to the consumers. Each product is start to finish made solely by students. And the milk that we receive to make the products comes from the farm right down the road. So everything is very fresh, made from our own cows and our own students. Cookies and cream ice cream was actually invented right here at SDSU. That is also one of our most popular flavors.
It really is a very special place. I'd like to say we have, through the program, made some huge impacts on careers of individuals. Within the department, we have dairy production, we have dairy manufacturing, and food science as our majors. And so what this does is it provides our students hands-on experience. But in addition to that hands-on experience at the plant here, we also have a lot of companies that come in to do research. And so the students have the opportunity to work with these companies. So they're looking at not just textbook, lab type of work, but they're looking at real things that are happening in the industry. And so just imagine as an 18 to 22-year-old having this opportunity to work with, quote, the real world. And then at the end of this, you get an incredible job offer. If not one, maybe 4 or 5 job offers. So overall, I think it's just an outstanding opportunity for students. So I'm ready to go back to school myself and start over again. And I've been here for 30-some years, having seen that many students and having seen also, for example, the students I had 30 years ago and what they're doing in the industry today is incredible. Wherever you go, you'll see a lot of our alumni that are making just huge influence on the dairy industry. I think the future looks really bright because the demand for dairy products have not changed. It provides you just a broad spectrum of nutritional quality. And so that just markets itself. And so as we look at the future, as the world population increases, there's just going to be an increase in the demand for proteins. That can be provided through milk proteins. And these have evolved just over the last few years. There are just an amazing number of possibilities for developing new products from the same basic milk. The Holstein breeders are aware of the genetics, and so they're able to apply the genetics in order to produce cows that will respond to those needs.
When we return, we travel to Virginia to learn how a dairy's successful agro-tourism effort wouldn't be possible without the iconic black and white cow.
Healthy cows equal more milk at Blackbrook Farm. That's why Carrie Adams trusts Vista from Merck Animal Health.
We use the Vista modified live vaccine because we feel at a young age it gives better protection versus using a killed vaccine.
Only Vista vaccines offer the most complete, longest-lasting respiratory protection for your dairy and one-dose fetal protection for your cow herd. That's protection you can trust. Talk to your veterinarian today about Vista vaccines.
Holstein America is brought to you by our friends at Merck Animal Health, the makers of NasalGen, and a leading provider of dairy care solutions. Visit mahcattle.com for support, tips, and products to provide your herd the best possible care.
Welcome back. Beyond producing high-quality milk, U.S. registered Holsteins help dairies survive and thrive. And that's especially important for communities seeking to protect their quality of life by preserving their rural values. An hour west of Richmond, Virginia, Alvis Farms has embraced agro-tourism to diversify their business and educate the public about modern farming practices. And they do it, all with the black and white cow.
I grew up right on the farm. I started feeding calves when I was younger and then kind of just turned into a passion for the dairy and went to Virginia Tech. I graduated in 2012 with a dairy science degree and then came back and started running the dairy.
Just about everything here we built ourselves. Back in '65, the 1st of January, we didn't have very much of the farmland here cleared. It was in woods, and we have a sawmill, so we cut the trees down, sawed the lumber, built the first milking parlor, freestall barns, and cows have been milked here every day since then.
We milk about 800 Holsteins in a double 12 parallel, which was built in 2000, and we direct load our milk. For us, Holstein was just the perfect cow because of not only the quantity of milk, but just the ease of taking care of her.
Well, when we increased the herd, we wanted better cows, not just, more cows. So that helped with getting the registered cows that we wanted, the quality of cows. And now we're doing a lot of flushing, the very top end. We market a few bulls.
We've sold some bulls to other farmers to use as herd bulls, and then we've also sold some bulls to stud. So registered Holsteins has helped us be able to sell bulls. We use the Easy ID. It's great for me to be able to just register animals on my own with the program. We love being able to see all the information right on the ear tag and then have all that information in our computer as well. So that's one of the advantages that registering our animals has helped us with. Well, Virginia's a pretty diverse state. We kind of have everything. We've got beach, we've got hills, we've got mountains. And we're kind of in a pretty flat part, so we're about 30 minutes west of Richmond, which is the capital of Virginia, so we're very close to the city. So we get a lot of people who've never seen a cow or who've never been around agriculture at all. So we started planting sunflowers 4 years ago for birdseed, and then we had a big problem with people coming onto the land, trespassing, cutting flowers down. So we ended up thinking, hey, why don't we make this a festival? The people obviously love sunflowers. So last year, my sister-in-law, my mother, and my 2 aunts and I went ahead and planned the festival, and we had about 6,000 people come out to the farm over 4 days. And this year, we are back at it again. We think that we can do a lot of agritourism events and have people come out and learn where their food comes from. It's important to me because lots of people just think they go to the grocery store and get a gallon of milk. They don't think about all of everything that happens every day behind the scenes. We're out to provide them with something that's great for them. Well, working with family always has its issues, but it is nice as well because, you know, whenever we're together, we are usually talking about the farm, and we can all get together and work together, and we all have an end goal in mind, I think. And so being able to communicate well is nice and helps us to be able to all progress towards the same goal.
Everything here is homemade, 100%. We came up in the sticks and we're still in it, so you work hard and keep on going.
Milk makes cheese possible, and no breed produces more pounds of protein and butterfat than Holsteins. Cheese contains a wealth of nutrition, helping to prevent osteoporosis, strengthening teeth and bones, and providing calcium, protein, and vitamin B12. Today, about a third of all milk produced in the U.S. is used to make cheese, and 90% of it comes from Holsteins.
My great-grandfather came here at the age of 18 from Switzerland. He found a job as an apprenticeship cheesemaker about 10 miles from our current location here, and that's where he started. We make 3 varieties of cheese here. We make brick cheese. It's an American original cheese because it was invented in America, actually invented in this state, Wisconsin. We also make Colby cheese, which is another American original cheese, and then we make cheddar cheese. I enjoy the passion that surrounds the cheese business, particularly in Wisconsin, where America is dairyland. That gives me an extra motivation and focus to carrying on the tradition that's been passed on through hundreds of years. It's pretty cool. The process of making cheese starts with high quality milk. Much of that milk comes from Holstein cows, but that's the biggest ingredient in cheese making is obviously the milk. And if you don't have high quality milk, then you won't have high quality cheese. The bricks that we use here for pressing our brick cheese, they've been here since the beginning, since 1922, and they're actually baker's bricks, which are used in the food industry. You know, they have a story to tell, so it's part of our heritage, history, and tradition here. What inspires me about the dairy industry in general is seeing how hardworking people are. I think dairy farming and dairy production is so important to society because it provides a nutritious product for consumers. I mean, I think it's been proven how nutritious dairy products are for people. And I also think that it supports, families. It supports a lot of individuals who work within the dairy industry. Where it starts with the farmers. You have, bottled milk. All these facilities that produce bottled milk have to employ people. They're feeding the world with their milk and with their crops. I also think cheese making. They're able to make cheese out of it, and that produces a whole other workforce. The benefits that it adds to the economy are very broad, just because of all the people that the dairy industry employs. Looking back through our history and my great-grandfather, that gives me inspiration, and seeing how it has supported our family and other families throughout the way. What keeps me optimistic for the future is looking at the demand that I've seen increase for dairy products. My message for Holstein breeders would be keep doing what you're doing, keep that quality milk on the shelf, and keep it in production so we can keep making quality cheese. And thanks for what you do. Without Holstein breeders, we wouldn't be where we're at today.
Coming up next, we travel to Colorado, where Holsteins and Robots can be found on the plains.
Healthy cows equal more milk at Blackbrook Farm. That's why Carrie Adams trusts Vista from Merck Animal Health.
We use the Vista modified live vaccine because we feel at a young age it gives better protection versus using a killed vaccine.
Only Vista vaccines offer the most complete, longest-lasting respiratory protection for your dairy and one-dose fetal protection for your cow herd. That's protection you can trust. Talk to your veterinarian today about Vista vaccines.
Holstein America is proudly sponsored by Merck Animal Health. Since 2012, Merck Animal Health has been training dairy caretakers through Dairy Care 365, designed to inspire a culture of care 365 days a year. Visit dairycare365.com.
Welcome back. One of the great technological advancements in dairying has been the widespread adoption of robotic milking systems. The Shapins, who dairy in Colorado, took a big step to expand and invest in robotic technology to secure their farm's future.
Well, we live in Holsteins in Colorado, and it's called the High Plains Desert. We only get, I think, an average 13 inches of moisture a year. It's hot in the summertime and very cold in the winter. Colorado isn't a big dairy state, but we get a lot of milk. There is a lot of feed yards in Colorado that raise heifers for other dairymen in other states, just because the heifers they'll do so well growing in our climate that we have here. My grandfather in 1938 bought the piece of land, and they always milked a few cows, and myself and my brother and my two sisters were in 4-H. We started showing cattle at the county fair, and at that time we had some prominent breeders in Colorado, Pacamar Farms, Boulder Valley, Eldew Dairy. They'd have a calf sale every year for kids to purchase registered animals, and we started purchasing registered animals to show in 4-H. So that's kind of where the start was, and then from those cattle we registered them, and then quite a few years ago when they started the second herd book of upgrading, we started upgrading grade cattle into registered cattle, and we just built our herd and grew it, and right now at the dairies we're on our 5th generation of grandkids running around. And the dairy that we're sitting in right here is in 2011 came up for sale, and my 2 sons and 2 daughters invested in it and purchased it, and we're almost finished. We're still building on this new cross-vent facility that we're sitting in right now. It's called a box barn because it's just a big square barn. Everything's fully automated. Like I said, they're milking with robots, so that's fully operated, fully controlled. And then for cow comfort, there's some brushes that hang down. The cow can go up there and get scratched on those. The only thing that's not fully automated in the barn here is we're feeding with the feed truck. Right now we're in expansion mode. And then that Rachel Holstein is helping us make a lot of production because we got to sell milk in order to get an income. And we have been able to sell, our heifers in the past, lots of heifers in a year's time to help increase our income. And we've always got a above market value for those heifers just because we can give the records to the buyer and say, here's what the last 3 generations or 4 generations of this cow family has done, and this is what this heifer's predicted to do. So we breed cows, good foot and legs, udders, lots of width in the chest and in the rump. Try to really put a lot of emphasis on the udder and feet and legs, so that way she can move around where she needs to go and has the capacity to give a lot of milk. We sell pounds of butter fat and pounds of protein is how our check is. And with the higher volume of milk that we get, having some good components with the Holstein cow, we can produce more pounds per cow of protein and butter fat than a Jersey does. Raising a family in agriculture or on a dairy teaches them, and it teaches the kids a lot of responsibility that things have to be done. Yeah, this is optimism in full force here, really.
No one is more committed to sustainability than the breeders of U.S. registered Holsteins. Holstein genetics can be tailored to optimize production on individual farms, increasing sustainability and profitability on farms across the country. Miles Ramsey brings us this report from Bill Verbort of Agrotech Analytics, a California-based dairy records processing center and division of Holstein Association USA.
A closer eye towards sustainability and environmental impact has benefits for both dairy consumers and producers.
In some cases, we're looking at very high production, but in other cases, we're looking at minimizing inputs. Both work in this industry, but what you want to do is you want to tailor your genetics for that, because this cow that's producing the milk is going to have a maintenance requirement no matter what. If we can optimize, get the max amount of milk for the situation she's in, we are going to have the lowest carbon footprint possible.
From a producer's standpoint, optimizing production can also lead to improved profitability. A herd that's built on higher producing cows generates higher returns on fewer animals, Verbort says. Based in California, Agrotech Analytics processes records on about 900,000 cows each month, bringing in data from Dairy Herd Improvement Association, DHIA testing, and other production sources across the country.
With Agrotech Analytics, we do that by using the data that we have to manage those cows in the best fashion possible, but then also use that genetic data, whether that's genomics or traditional averages, traditional indexes, to breed that cow that is going to produce the most milk.
Gaining a better understanding of how each individual animal performs is the first step in making improvements, Verbort says.
First of all, we need to know what she's producing, and we need to feed her accordingly, not overfeed her. And there's different tested within the system, such as milk urea nitrogen, that will let you know if you're overfeeding nitrogen or not. And so we advocate the testing for that. That's a routine test that's available through the DHI system.
Dairy farmers taking these steps can work toward an entire herd of high-producing cows with lower maintenance requirements. A win-win for everyone.
A high-producing cow will produce less of the methane, less of the lower carbon footprint per unit of dairy product consumed than a lower producing animal. And that's really all tied into that maintenance requirement that every animal has, whether she's a high producer or a low producer. We spread that maintenance requirement over more units, and that's how we minimize that footprint per pound of butter, quart of milk, etc.
Starting with a strong genetic base, like U.S. registered Holsteins, also allows dairy producers to breed for greater efficiency within their specific markets.
There is no other breed that produces more milk than the Holstein breed on the average. I mean, that's a well-known fact and accepted. I think the other thing that makes the Holstein cow very unique is the size of the herd, the national herd of Holsteins. It provides a lot of genetic selection, and so that you can produce an animal for any market. You may have a fluid market, you may have a cheese market, and those options are available with the Holstein breed more so than any of the other breeds.
Visit agrotech.com to learn more about dairy records processing. For Holstein Association USA, I'm Miles Ramsey.
Thanks, Miles. Holstein America will be back after this informational segment on heat stress from Merck Animal Health. Now is the time to plan for those hot months and prevent problems before they happen.
And my name is Luis Mendonça. I am a veterinarian, part of the Ruminant Technical Services team with Merck Animal Health. And when we think about efficiency in dairies, we have to think about heat stress, because that's really going to be impacting how cows are going to be performing and how much milk we're going to be able to get from those cows. If we're not providing the right heat abatement to our dairy cows, we're definitely going to be impacting the bottom line, and we're going to be impacting the health of cows. So some key areas that we have to consider in heat stress in our dairy farms. First one is the holding pen. We can really concentrate our efforts to the holding pen by providing evaporative cooling. So providing water, soakers, and then putting fans as well so we can dissipate the heat from our cows. When we think about our dry cows, in the last 2 to 3 weeks before calving, that's when cows are going to be producing colostrum. So if we're not providing heat abatement to these cows, we're going to be impacting the production of colostrogenesis, which might impact the calf by the time that we have to feed them, and also it's going to be impairing that mammary gland to be ready to produce milk when it comes time for the next lactation. And there are different ways that we can evaluate that. It's basically looking at respiration rate of cows. We can actually monitor their temperature if needed, and the very interesting part is technology. We're seeing more technology in the dairy industry, and one really interesting part is monitoring technology in the individual level. There are several devices out there. One of them is the All-Flex monitoring technology. That's part of Merck Animal Health. And that way we can actually monitor their percentage of cows that are breathing heavily. When we provide some heat abatement to cows, the percentage of cows that are going to be breathing heavily is going to decrease significantly. It's really going to allow us to determine, do we need to invest more, or is this efficient? Is this enough for us to provide the best environment to the cows? The reality is it doesn't matter where dairymen are in the US, they're going to be having problems with heat stress. So when we think about efficiency, heat stress is going to be impacting all the areas that we think about efficiency and we want to improve in a dairy to be profitable.
Healthy cows equal more milk at Blackbrook Farm. That's why Carrie Adams trusts Vista from Merck Animal Health.
We use the Vista modified live vaccine because we feel at a young age it gives better protection versus using a killed vaccine.
Only Vista vaccines offer the most complete, longest-lasting respiratory protection for your dairy and one-dose fetal protection for your cow herd. That's protection you can trust. Talk to your veterinarian today about Vista vaccines.
Holstein America is proudly sponsored by Merck Animal Health. Dairy Care 365 provides training for dairy caretakers who want to keep their livestock safe, productive, and healthy. Visit dairycare365.com.
Welcome back. Dairying is hard work, but hard work is the defining spirit of the dairy industry. At Hildebrandt Family Farms in Wisconsin, registered Holsteins help develop a new market for milk through Prairie Pure Cheese and the Holstein steers they sell through a local meat market.
When I wake up in the morning and the sun's coming up, I just know how much we're going to get done in a day. Working together as a family of 5 and also having other family and relatives all work together. We're not just family, we're best friends, we're everything. Hildebrandt Family Farms milks 90 cows, runs 1,400 acres. We also raise bull calves for dairy steers. The farm began in 1960 with my grandparents, Millie and Jean Hildebrandt, when they moved here from Woodstock, Illinois. My dad and my uncle bought the farm from my grandpa, and then in 2013, my cousin, my brother, and I joined partnership with my father and my uncle. I decided to come back to the farm because I love the variation from day to day. Growing up, I thought I'd be an accountant, but I figured out in college that I could not sit at a desk all day and look at a computer screen all day. I need that variation in my life. One day you're spending it with the cows, the next day you're spending it sitting in a tractor all day. One day you're having a calf be born. There's the consistency from each day, but there's also the variation, and that's what I enjoy the most. But I did use my dairy science degree and my business certificate, and now I do the bookwork on the farm, the record keeping. So I'm still able to incorporate that when I can, but it's just not every day, all day. That a rainy day, well, that's my project, as I'm still being productive during those days. And it's gonna get loud now. We milk our 90 cows in a tie stall barn. The cows don't come to the parlor, we come to them. The cows get their individual stall and we keep moving the milk machines down the barn. With them being individually fed and then having their own individual stall in the barn, we know them on an individual basis. They're not just a number to us, they're a name. Every cow that we have has a name. That we get that personal connection with them. And a lot of times also feeding them individually in the barn, you know the day of that when they're sick because they don't want to eat. If a human if they don't feel good, they don't want to eat it. A cow's the same exact way. They don't want to eat either if something's not right. So the Holstein Association, our farm back when my grandpa started was a grade, and then my dad got the first registered animal with it, and he grew the farm to now being 100% registered. So that led my brother and I to keep getting involved in doing things in the Holstein Association. We developed that interest working with our calves at a young age to now continuing to work with them, and the Holstein Association has allowed us to go to conventions, to meet lots of people across the nation. They gave me a scholarship back in the day for continuing my education, which was very helpful. We also use Holstein Complete to classify our cows. So every 9 months, the Holstein classifier comes and classify cows to see how good they compete against cows across the nation. The Holstein ID tags are very helpful to us. We like knowing 10 generations ago we can trace back to follow those pedigrees. Holsteins are great for cheese production, being as they produce the most amount of milk per cow. The volume of so much milk allows the most amount of cheese to be made. Our cows are grazed out on pasture. People can also taste that difference, a click different that people notice and they like and we like. Prairie Pure Cheese began with our nutritionist. The cheese company was looking for a place to get their milk from, and with him being a nutritionist, he appreciated how we produce the milk, the family atmosphere, the cows out on pasture. So he approached us, and shortly thereafter we had agreed to supply the milk, and about a year later we bought into it. Experiencing our own cheese is something I never would have thought would have been possible for us. It's a great feeling knowing, one, that we produce it, but two, also knowing how much we love it. It's not something that we're just making just to sell it. It's something that we believe in, what we eat every single day. It's delicious, like knowing that it's not just thrown in the pool, it's our own. It's the way I was raised up, and I want to continue doing it for the next generation to hopefully learn it from. Right now I got the privilege of working with my cousin's kids and trying to teach them individually to hopefully better themselves for the future, whether it's a job in the agriculture industry or not. Starting the day at the sunrise and going to sunset, when you get to end a day like this and look out and see all the cows out grazing and enjoying themselves, I just can't go wrong, and it's something I really enjoy and take pride in doing each and every day.
Holstein Association USA, the world's largest dairy breed organization, recently launched a new service called Holstein Marketplace Sires. The innovative program provides greater variety in the genetic marketplace and gives registered Holstein breeders the ability to directly market semen to others. Miles Ramsey explains.
Behind every good bull, there's a story. Early mornings and late nights. Hours spent poring over pedigrees and genetic test results. Thought put into choosing the best mating from a favorite cow family. Holstein Marketplace Sires benefits the breeders using the bulls and the breeders behind the bulls. The program provides a unique avenue for Holstein breeders to directly market semen from their bulls. Under this program, breeders retain ownership of the bulls, and Holstein Marketplace Sires coordinates marketing and sales of the bull's semen. Breeders with current bulls in the Marketplace Sires program might not all have the same story, but they are all united by a shared passion for registered Holsteins with high-quality genetics.
I did not grow up on a registered Holstein farm. I was very much inspired by Holstein breeders and the passion they had for their cattle, and I found it kind of contagious. That's what I decided to do when I got out of high school. I started buying registered cattle, went out on my own, started farming.
My brother and I both grew up with registered cows, and I think our interest in Holstein genetics probably was sparked early on when we were showing cows, when we were young 4-H'ers and showing at our county fair, local shows.
Holstein Marketplace Sires has bulls that balance both type and production. Breeders who have had bulls in the program see the value in cows with sound conformation and strong health traits.
Growing up with it, I love the aspect of breeding cattle and breeding that next animal and improving each generation. With showing, I really admired the type side. Growing up and starting your own farm, I really got into the health traits and what can make that animal and that family better as far as the overall health and the milk and what makes it profitable.
Hopefully people are going to see a value in this that's going to produce animals, again, that are long-lived, highly productive, and what I like the most, they pay the bills. And they're not just there today, but they're going to be there tomorrow and next year and the years after that.
Breeders with bulls in the program say they are excited to be able to use them in their own herds. Dick Witter, founder of Taurus Service with 50 years of experience in the AI industry, agrees this is a strength of the program.
These bulls are from breeders that are convinced that this cow family in their herd is what they would want to use, so they put this bull into the program to market semen on, convinced that it's genetics that they would love to sell to their neighbor and their fellow breeder, and that brings a lot of credibility to it.
The current lineup of Holstein Marketplace Sires bulls includes our favorite Charisma ET, bred and owned by our favorite Holsteins in Fall Creek, Wisconsin. Raspberry Crismal Rip City ET, bred by Raspberry Futures LLC in Outlook, Washington, and owned by Carl and Donna Hale of Cloverdale, Oregon. Terra Linda Rhino ET, bred and owned by Terra Linda Dairy in Tulare, California. OCD Kenobi Foghat ET, bred and owned by Oakfield Corners Dairy in Oakfield, New York. Tremilda Stunning Blazer, bred and owned by Troy and Austin Yoder in Montezuma, Georgia. King's Ransom Sea Cruisin' ET, bred and owned by King Ransom Farm LLC in Schuylerville, New York. And Sea Haven Positive Deluxe ET, bred and owned by Thomas Priest and Thomas T. Mercuro in Pennsylvania. Holstein Marketplace Sires has more exciting new bulls entering the program soon. To view the current lineup of bulls in the program or to learn more, visit www.holsteinusa.com/marketplace-sires.
Thanks, Miles. When we return, we celebrate 3 years of Holstein America and the great people who made it possible.
Healthy cows equal more milk at Blackbrook Farm. That's why Carrie Adams trusts Vista from Merck Animal Health.
We use the Vista modified live vaccine because we feel at a young age it gives better protection versus using a killed vaccine.
Only Vista vaccines offer the most complete, longest-lasting respiratory protection for your dairy and one-dose fetal protection for your cow herd. That's protection you can trust. Talk to your veterinarian today about Vista vaccines.
Holstein America is brought to you by our friends at Merck Animal Health, the makers of NasalGen, and a leading provider of dairy care solutions. Visit mahcattle.com for support, tips, and products to provide your herd the best possible care.
Welcome back. It's now been 3 years since we launched Holstein America, and we're proud to be the only national television program devoted solely to telling the stories of the U.S. dairy business. During that time, we've traveled to dairies across the country. Their commitment to producing the highest quality products with the most iconic animal in the world has never wavered.
I think the registered Holstein is a great animal. It can take just a little bit of grain and hay and produce a product that America wants. Not only that, the Holstein does it efficiently.
The Holstein cow has been an icon in all of agriculture for many years, and I think it kind of gives you a sense of pride. The registered Holstein allows us to do such a variety of things and allows us to put a variety of products out for our customers.
We're a Holstein family. We've been working with the Holstein breed for over 100 years. Every single animal in our herd is registered. It's really important to know the bloodlines of the cattle that we have. It lets us know where we came from, and it also lets us know where we're going.
The registered Holsteins has been a big part of our life just because it helps us to constantly keep thriving and improve on the next generation.
Each generation just gets better and better. I mean, from 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, it's pretty amazing where things have gone and how these cows can produce.
And we chose to go with Holsteins because we feel like that animal gives us the most versatility in terms of what she's going to eat in a day and how she converts that to milk volume as well as components. And we're very pleased with the output of the animals, the docility of the animals, and they're built to last.
100% of my success on what we're doing here is because of the registered Holstein cow. She's got the size and the capability and the genetic diversity that we can make her adapt to whatever the markets want us to do.
We produce a lot more milk with our Holstein cows, and we say that in cheese making because that's extremely important to have high milk components for yield.
Milk is king in the Midwest, and there's no cow that can produce milk like a registered Holstein cow.
I think they're very efficient. I think they make a lot of pounds of product, so you start talking about fat and protein, they definitely make a lot of pounds of fat, pounds of protein. and that's what we're ultimately after.
For us, being that we have a creamery and components mean a lot to us, and we've been able to achieve a 4% butter fat with the Holsteins and good protein. So we feel like the registered Holsteins have just been a real efficient cow for us.
I think what really makes the registered Holstein cow the perfect cow is that we as breeders can decide what we want to work with and really develop that to bring more value to my operation.
We know that we can only control so many factors that go into making milk on our farms, but that the cornerstone of milk production ultimately is the cow. And to achieve the goals that we have for our cow herds was by working with ultimately people that were smarter and more knowledgeable in that area than we were, and that led us to the Holstein Association.
I think the Holstein breed's making some tremendous progress in the fitness traits to go along with the way they excel in production. That's really the pairing that we've needed, and I've seen a lot of progress to stay relevant, to stay productive, to stay profitable. It's quite a challenge. The only way to work through it is by having enough information.
The best part about having registered Holsteins is you have this wealth of information basically at your fingertips.
Holstein USA, I've always looked at as really a collection of data. They have to take that data, process it, and put it back out in a form that the consumer, being me, can use.
I think the registered business, registered Holsteins in general, has opened up the world to us.
I think it's important for everybody to realize that the dairy business and dairy farming itself, it's in your blood. It's something that you love, it's our passion. We truly believe that if we do a good job here, we provide a tremendous product for the consumers on the other end.
The Holstein cow is really a cash machine, from the value of her calf to the value of the milk she produces and that subsequent lactation. Nothing in livestock agriculture can beat a Holstein cow.
In our final segment, we travel to a quiet valley in northwest Massachusetts, where a dairy family, like countless others across this country, represents the greatness of America.
I've been a member of this local community band, the Shelburne Falls Military Band, for over 40 years. So I might have encouraged Melissa to play the trumpet. And I tell everyone, when she took her second lesson, she was better than I am.
I play trumpet with the Wyndham Orchestra, which is up in Brattleboro, Vermont, so right near the national office. And I also play with the Pioneer Valley Symphony, which is located down here in Massachusetts. And I am the 5th generation. I've been here since 2005, full-time on the farm.
I've always said Melissa's not your typical farmer. She's a farmer by day, trumpet player by night. She's certainly one of the hardest working people I know, and she's got a lot of passion for Holsteins. She does all the mating, all the bull selections.
Right now our herd is actually 100% homebred. You plan for this calf and you're trying to make this calf better than its mother, whether it's gonna have better feet and legs, make more milk, just have a more productive life, just a healthier cow. And so it's really fun to, do that mating, have the calf be born, watch the calf develop and see how that all turns out. We'll use the Holstein's inbreeding calculator in doing a lot of my matings to make sure we're not getting genetics that are too close. We have marketed a few animals over the years, and so certainly having registration papers has helped with that.
Melissa's mother never wanted to push 3 daughters to come back to agriculture if they didn't want to. Melissa went off to music school. She went to Penn State, got her master's, and came back home. But the breedings and the matings is just stuff she loves to do. And Melissa and Adam wanted to put the robot in, and so Judy and I are supporting the next generation and helping them put the robot in. So maybe I can slow down a little.
I think the robot will take some of the time that we would spend milking and be able to divert it to some of the cow health issues that come up and be able to be a little bit more preventative and proactive rather than reactive, as well as help us with our crops. I think we can get more done in the field during the day and, you know, make more efficient time with our crops and therefore make better crops.
The robot is certainly going to have a big impact on how many cows we can milk going forward. And so it's going to be really important that we use the information that we can get from Holstein to make the best decisions on which animals are going to be continuing their genetics in the herd.
So I recently started serving on the Holstein USA Legislative Affairs Committee, you know, working on any sort of policy issues that come up and just advocating for dairy farm policies. Each generation is more and more removed from the dairy farm, and so it's important for us to constantly be, you know, talking about farming and talking about the importance of agriculture. It's exciting to be able to tell people all of our milk goes to Cabot products. I've done several demos in grocery stores for Cabot, and I tell them, you know, I'm a Cabot dairy farmer, and they're like, I love Cabot, you know, that's all I ever buy.
I've been fortunate enough to be able to see farms of all sizes in all regions of the country, and I think one thing that is the same amongst all of them is the passion for farming that they have. They have a passion for the cows, for breeding, and that they have goals for the business or for their family, for their environment, and within their local community.
The dairy industry is one of the most diverse and interesting sectors in all of agriculture, thanks in part to the Holstein cow. So take a few minutes to celebrate it all with a cold glass of milk or any of these wonderful dairy products. It'll do your body good. To learn more, visit HolsteinUSA.com. On behalf of America's registered Holstein breeders, thanks for watching Holstein America. I'm Michelle Davidson.